Who doesn't love doing a bit of pay to win on Hypixel Skyblock? Whether it's gems for cosmetics or gems for cookies, every now and then it's kind of nice to indulge and maybe skip the hours of money grinding that you would have done otherwise. I don't know if you've noticed, but fire sales have changed over the past few years, and to be quite honest, because of the way that the game's developed, so has the value from actually paying to win. Now, when I say to pay to win, I exclusively refer to buying gems, not anything that gives you an actual competitive advantage, and that's for the same reason as the Colosseum not existing anymore. But why is it that you now get less value for your money when you're paying to win? And in what way have these fire sales changed? Anyway, before we do go any further, if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code JUNGiTrS, it gets yourself 5% off. Also, if you are planning on purchasing Hytale, you can use the same creator code. It doesn't get you a discount, but it would help me out a lot. If you watch the videos and you haven't subscribed, please make sure to do so. You should join the Discord server, it's linked in the description of this video. We offer slayers and dungeon carries, so if you need carries or want to carry and make some coins, make sure to join. First of all, I'm going to start off with how fire sales have actually changed. Now, I'm not saying the community of people who invest in skins to make financial gain has completely disappeared, but back in the day when a new fire sale came out, people would just simply buy up the new items, wait a couple of weeks and be quids in. But if we look back at previous fire sales, you can see that this really doesn't work too well. And a lot of this is down to the amount of items that Hypixel actually offer, and also of course the actual skin, and the item that the skin is for. For example, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to understand how the Void Mammoth skin, which doesn't look very good and is for a pet that isn't really very usable, when there was 4,000 offered, is now selling for less than 9 mil. Now, I understand that all of these skins and fire sales are going to be a mixed bag. Some are going to look better than others, some are going to be for more useful items than others. If we look to the skins from back in the day, some of them also don't look very good. However, the price is due to the complete and utter rarity of the items, considering the amount offered was so low. And there's not really many of these actual pet skins in existence anymore, meaning that they're collectible for the rarity and also for the age. Whereas modern skins are not desirable for really being collector's items. They're not desirable because of the age or the rarity. They're more desirable simply for the look of the skin and kind of for what item the skin goes on. For example, currently in the fire sale is a strawberry hedgehog skin and a burning hedgehog skin. Now, what I will say is a hedgehog pet is pretty useful at the moment. It's pretty sought after. And that's because the hedgehog is currently used for pest farming, which is a very, very popular money-making method at the moment. And considering when looking at analytics, the garden is the island with the most players on Skyblock at the moment, and it has been for a while. All of this has been the perfect storm for the strawberry hedgehog skin to be a great investment of gems. Now, the burning hedgehog skin is quite interesting because this is another skin where it changes colour. However, because there's so many of this skin offered, the price is nowhere near that of the strawberry skin. Now, in my opinion, objectively, I think the burning skin is a better skin because you have so many different options of what you can change the colours to. However, in this case, the rarity of this, only 950 offered compared to 3.5k, has kind of made it a way better investment. But going back a couple of years, you could take a look at some of the recent pet skins that have actually came out in the past couple of weeks or so, buy them, hold on to them for a couple of months, and they would have skyrocketed in price. This happened with skins such as the golden monkey skin that peaked at almost 1 billion coins and then as the bubble burst, kind of dropped. And also the cyberpunk and the celestial wither goggle skins. Now, with Hypixel's goal to be able to provide good skins for pretty much every item in the game, within reason, it's inevitable that nowadays they're going to start creating skins for items that just simply aren't very usable, therefore not very desirable as the skins. For example, skins for the biohazard helmet. The biohazard has been nerfed to the ground. When you actually take a look through the previous fire sales, over the past few years there aren't really that many that actually sell for a ridiculous amount of money like they used to. Okay, that's all well and good, but why is pay to winning just kind of not as worth it as it used to be? Let me ask you a question. For those people who've been playing Skyblock for the past 3 or 4 years, if you think back to those 2022, 2023 times, if someone said to you, oh, I can make 40 to 50 mil an hour, you're probably going to be really, really impressed. Whereas nowadays, if someone says to you, I can make 40 to 50 mil an hour, you're not going to be like, oh, that's terrible, but you're not really going to be that impressed. That's because this sort of money has become so much easier to make. Now, back in the day, unless there was a situational money-making method, your only real sort of pathway to make that sort of money consistently probably would have been mining. Whereas nowadays, not only have you got mining, you've got things like pest farming that can make you comparable money. You've got Kudra, which can also make you a ton of money. Slayers like Blaze Slayer, the Rift if done correctly, and many, many more methods. Especially recently with the boom of pest farming, with the requirements being really quite low to get into it, And also the fact that nowadays, you know, if you want to spend a certain amount of money on a cookie, that's going to be the same amount of money that you would have spent on a cookie back in the day. And you're probably going to be getting around about the same amount of coins. However, those coins that you actually get in return for that same amount of money are just worth less. And you might think, is that really true, considering items like the Hyperion over the span of the past few years have crashed in price? Overall, things are just cheaper. Maybe not cheaper on paper, but cheaper in real terms because money's just so much easier to come by. Now, I'm not trying to say you would be an idiot to buy gems or completely and utterly discourage you, because I'm pretty sure most of you know, me having a creator code would be kind of catastrophic if every single person decided not to buy gems. But to be completely honest, it just isn't anywhere near as worth it as it was before. Now, people will always spend money on Skyblock. That's just the way it is. Without the fire sales, without people being able to buy cookies, Hypixel would lose a massive income stream, and, you know, the development of the game would probably slow down because they wouldn't have the budget to actually develop it. And this isn't really a Hypixel-induced issue, I just think this is what's happened because of the way the game has progressed. And ultimately because they're kind of thinking, do we really need another skin for this pet or item? Should we not just create a skin for a different item that we don't already have a skin for, but people aren't really going to be that interested in it because it's a skin that, you know, no one really wants a skin. It's an item that nobody really wants a skin for. Now, something else that should be talked about is the price of booster cookies. They're less than 10 million coins, way less than 10 million coins, and they have been for quite a while now. Now, the catalyst for the decrease in price of booster cookies was definitely Aura. Aura coupled with the fact that Christmas time, you know, around Christmas time, people have more money, they get money for Christmas, they spend more on the game. More people were playing Skyblock at the same time than usual at Christmas as well because of Aura, therefore more people spending, all contributing to the decrease in price in cookies. At the moment, Hypixel are still profiting from the amount of players that they've retained since Aura, which is actually quite interesting too. In other words, the more people playing Skyblock, there's more people buying gems, there's more people spending gems on cookies, because either they need them or they want to sell them. Therefore, there's greater demand for cookies, but also greater supply. Overall, the supply outweighs the extra demand and results in the prices of cookies dropping. Now, this is great for most people who are just simply buying cookies with coins, but for those people wanting to actually straight up sell the cookies that they've bought with gems, they're kind of losing out. And all we have to do is look at the historical prices of booster cookies to understand kind of what's happening. Now, if we go back to around a year ago, booster cookies were pretty much at their all-time high at almost 15 million coins. And now they're about 9 million, so over the space of a year, they've dropped 6 million coins each. Now, the craziest thing is they've dropped 6 million coins each, and over that period of time, money's also got easy to make, meaning that the value that you would have got for buying a booster cookie this time last year was probably, I'd say it's probably close to double, because the real value of how much you can actually get back for it is decreased a lot. But just the sheer easiness of making coins nowadays will also contribute to that, but won't actually be visible. Something else to consider is that fire sales versus booster cookies was always a big argument. Now, there's a pretty interesting dynamic at the moment because a lot of the new fire sale skins don't really end up selling for that much money. But at the same time, booster cookies are also massively down in price. Like if you take, for example, a Spirit Mask skin that's currently selling for probably about the standard of majority of these skins nowadays at around about 25 mil. It's cost you 650 Skyblock gems to actually go ahead and get this skin. Considering the price of a booster cookie is half of that at 325 gems, if you were to spend 650 gems on booster cookies, you'd be making around about 18 million coins back, as opposed to a fire sale at 25 mil. The fire sale's still definitely worth it. Whereas if we did the same test this time last year, cookies probably would have been more worth it on the whole. Now, there's always going to be outliers, skins that end up going for a lot more, but that's because of perfect storms with really cool looking skins and items that are really sought after. Anyway, this is a pretty interesting topic. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.